everyone! With Hearthstone adding more scaly goodness in the form of Descent of Dragons, as well as the events in Battle for Azeroth, I figured it could be fun to take a look back at the story of Nefarian, mostly known as the son of Deathwing, Nefarian the Earth Warder, charged and empowered to protect the world of Azeroth. But its close connection to this world, infected by the old gods, it also made him vulnerable to their corruption. Madness spread through his mind until it burst out of his body. For millennia, Deathwing no longer guarded the world, he became a threat. A madness that is spread beyond, throughout nearly his entire Dragonflight, including Nefarian. We should all be well acquainted with Nefarian. He is important in the lore of dragons for more than simply being the son of the Worldbreaker. This takes us back to the time that the original Horde came in for their second invasion, the time period where his father travels to Draenor to hide some of their eggs. Nefarian contacted the orcs of Blackrock Mountain and managed to manipulate them into letting him use the mountain for his own purposes. He set up a secret base that he built for one particular purpose, following his father's wishes to renew the Black Dragonflight and make them more powerful than before. We learn through Caligos that no single dragon alive can kill a dragon aspect. They are more powerful than any one dragon could hope to be. But what if you combine the blood of all 5 dragonflights into one? Fast forward to the classic time periods, where Nefarian, he's been conducting vile experiments in secret within Blackrock Mountain, and these vile experiments had just begun to produce results. Chromatic dragons had started being born. First, they saw failure, then only a few of them survived, and then a few more. Nefarian, victory within his grasp, he tasked his minions on ensuring that the next clutch of eggs would produce enough chromatic dragons to rebuild the Black Dragonflight and start a whole new generation. But Nefarian and his minions had not gone unnoticed. The Fire Lord Ragnaros commanded the lower section of Blackrock Mountain, and though they both served the old gods, they were not truly allies. Although Nefarian and Ragnaros had a tenuous truce going on, there were others inside the mountain who tired of sharing it. The Dark Iron Dwarfs were enslaved under Ragnaros, and Moira Fauruzan, queen of the Dark Iron Dwarfs, she wanted freedom for her people. She wanted Ragnaros gone from Blackrock. Unfortunately, the Fire Lord's sworn enemies, the Hydraxian Waterlords, along with some bold adventurers, they worked together to cleave Ragnaros away, send him back to the Firelands.
Now is the time for the Dark Iron to emerge from the shadows.
And with the lower part of Blackrock liberated, she turned her eyes upon the top of the mountain and the last remnants of the Black Dragonflight who resided there. Her spies sent out rumors that the orcs of this so-called Dark Horde had allied with the Black Dragonflight. Moira's whispers reached all the way to Orgrimmar, and Thrall sent out heroes of the Horde to deal with the threats. Knowing that we had to take care of it was one thing, but gaining access to the upper spires of Blackrock Mountain and eventually Blackwing Lair itself, that was a whole different problem. Luckily, we did not stand alone in this. The Red Dragon Vilastras, he had quite a bone to pick with the Black Dragonflight. Their millennia of corruption, it had led to so much destruction and tragedy, not to mention the enslavement of the Red Dragon Queen Alexstrasza by the hands of the Hordes. Villain wanted their threat gone, and not only helped us forge a key for UBRS. Inside, as we confront the leader of this Dark Horde, Dalram Blackhand, riding on one of Nefarian's chromatic dragons called Gaif. We entered quite a challenging fight, and again, Veal was there offering his aid to those who hold his key. An image of him shows up during the fight, allowing us to bring down both Rend and Gif, and either complete the attunement quest for Blackwing Lair, or just go straight into the raid. Inside, we find out that Vilastras went in ahead of us, and he finds himself outmatched by the dark powers wielded by Nefarian.
Ah, the heroes. You are persistent, aren't you? Your ally here attempted to match his power against mine, and paid the price. Now he shall serve me by slaughtering you. Get up, little red worm, and destroy them.
Too late, friends. Nefarius' corruption has taken hold. I cannot control myself. I beg you, mortals, flee! Flee before I lose all sense of control. The black fire rages within my heart. I must release it! Flame! Death! Destruction! Cower mortals before the wrath of Lord... No! I must fight this! Alexstrasza, help me! I must fight!
Giving us a portion of his power before succumbing to corruption, we put the poor red out of his misery and push further into the mountain, encountering many of Nefarian's gruesome experiments and allies, until the Lord himself has no choice but to face us.
Let the games begin.
One of the encounters that will forever live on in my memory is when Nefarian, when he comes down, no longer relies on his minions to do his dirty work. He will actually turn our powers against us. Druids will be temporarily stuck in cat form. Mages would start with polymorphing all over the place. Paladins would bobble the dragon, shamans would give him buff totems, priest direct heals would now put a dot on the target, while rogues would be teleported and stunned close to Nefarian. Even the new classes added later down the line, they are not safe from his powers. Death Knights, they will death grip the entire raid. Monks, they will start to uncontrollably roll around, while demon hunters can no longer look through their blindfolds, the screen turning black. But me back then, I played a hunter, of course, and Nefarian was not keen on the weapons that we were shooting him with. Their durability would instantly be gone if he catches you holding one of these ranged weapons. The trick to this was to swap out or unequip your weapon before his ability landed, but not all in the raid were quick enough to do so, meaning that you would have to do the melee of shame. What a fight though, not to mention that you had to drape yourself in the scales of his sister to even survive the mountain.
This cannot be. I am the master here. You mortals are nothing to my kind. Do you hear? Nothing!
All the same, Nefarian and all his vile creations, they fell before the hordes, the champions taking his head back to Orgrimmar as proof of their victory. Meanwhile, his body remained in Blackrock undisturbed until the events of the Cataclysm. Deathwing breaking out of the world and getting ready to serve as master the old gods. Bring about the Hour of Twilight, allying with Ragnarok's Returned and the Twilight Hammer cult. Their leader, Cho'gall, he set up in the Bastion of Twilight, while sending out a contingent of cultists to the Blackrock Mountain. They reanimated Nefarian with the powers of the Void, with Deathwing tasking Nefarian to continue on with his previous experiments. Void magic must certainly be potent if it could raise a body long since dead, who was also very much headless. Being raised from death does not seem to have fazed Nefarian much, and miraculously, perhaps through the liberal use of duct tape, his head has reanimated with him. Warier than he had been previously, Nefarian digs deeper into the Blackrock Mountain and establishes a new base that we know as the Blackwing Descent. Here he experiments on dragons from various flights in order to make that perfect chromatic dragon.
Mortals that fancy themselves heroes have entered the Broken Hall. Oh, I do hope this raid will amuse me more.
The Dark Iron Dwarves were hanging out in Blackwing Descent before. But now, with the base repurposed, Nefarian making it his own, the Omnitron defense system that was once touted as the Dark Iron's greatest technological marvel. When Nefarian arrived here in Blackwing Descent, he repurposed the rundown systems to annihilate anyone intruding on his laboratories. And Magma, the colossal lava worm, was summoned from the Firelands centuries ago by Ragnarok's Dark Iron servitors. Nefarian largely considers it a worrisome pest, but he has grown fond of feeding the beast his failed experiments and servants. Failed experiments, they become worm food, but not Atrametis, also known as Experiment 25463/D. They try to enhance its senses while still in whelp form. The toxic self applied to the broodling robbed him of his sight, forcing him to rely on sound and smell for survival. Truly a tragic story, if Atrametis weren't so evil. Other many failures that might be explained with Maloriak's story. Originally, he was a human, Mallory, a bright young alchemist, until he was kidnapped by Nefarian and fused with the corpse of a dragon spawn. The result, Maloriak is a bumbling minion who possesses only a dull glimmer of his former intelligence, an advantage for us to use, as these, as well as threats like Cameron, they all go down.
Congratulations! Allow me to grant you a title befitting the amazing achievement you just performed.
Exploring the Blackwing descent, it shows us what the son of Deathwing has accomplished. But their greatest feat, through trial and error and in spite of his stupid, incompetent and disappointing minions, that would have to be the resurrection of his sister Onyxia.
Behold the broodmother, Onyxia, reborn. Perhaps my finest work.
The brave heroes once again took on Nefarian's forces and Nefarian himself. Even his reanimated sister Onyxia fell before their blades, leaving behind their skeletons deep within Blackrock. Then in battle for Azeroth, servants of the old god N'Zoth intend to resurrect Nefarian and his sister for another round to serve the master once more, and this time the plan is thwarted by their pseudo-brother Rephion, along with some brave adventurers who destroy the remains of the 2 dragons and take the last of the black scales. These will be of great use to Rephion, to forge a cloak to help counter the vile impact of N'Zoth's corruption, the tragedy of the Black Dragonflight, the death of Nefarian and Onyxia. They will give us the power to vanquish N'Zoth.
The Black Dragonflight will purge your master from Azeroth!
After the death of Nefarian for the second and hopefully the last time, the Twilight Hammer cults, they were not ready to give up on the idea of a chromatic dragon, and with the use of a surge needle, they managed to resurrect Chromatus, the pinnacle of all of Nefarian's work. Nefarian had been slain before he could give life to his vile projects, but now Chromatus, a vile creature with 5 heads, he's been given life by the Twilight Hammer. Chromatus is an interesting creature, but he and his 5 heads are a story for another time. Safe to say that in the book, Thrall, Twilight of the Aspects, they are able to overcome the dangers posed by this mighty chromatic dragon. Complete destruction of its body was not possible, so instead they imprison it within an arcane prison. For the story of Nefarian though, with Rephion used the remains of his fallen kin to aid us in the war against N'Zoth. Their story seems to be over for now, but who knows what the Shadowlands might show us. Nefarian is such a brilliant character with an awesome adventure attached that they decided to move all of that into Hearthstone.
Blackrock Mountain, a Hearthstone adventure!
In 2015, with the release of Hearthstone's second adventure, Blackrock Mountain, players first heard about Nefarian. Those who pre-ordered the adventure, they received a message from Lord Victor Nefarius. He wants our help to rid the mountain of that fiery pest, to get rid of Ragnaros. He also tries to remind us that he is certainly not a dragon, and any black dragons seen around the mountain, they're up to nothing Nefarious. It's pretty much bring our adventures in Warcraft in the Blackrock Mountain to the Hearthstone game. Now Lord Victor Nefarius is acting as our enthusiastic narrator through the adventure. Apparently, here in Hearthstone, Nefarian and Ragnaros, they're terrible neighbors, and the son of Deathwing wants his mountain to do his experiments in peace. He watches as you work your way through Blackrock depths and then through Molten Core. He's very excited about the upcoming demise of the Fire Lords, and even tells you, once you've defeated Gar, to skip some of his remaining rocks across Ragnaros' lava pool. Once you've worked your way through and killed Ragnaros, he is ecstatic, exclaiming that finally,
The mountain is mine! Mine!
Lord Victor can get a little tiring. And once we've killed Ragnaros, well, we might as well clear out the rest of the mountain, deciding to step foot in this half of the mountain. It has him pretty confused, and he can't seem to imagine that we'd be foolish enough to try and turn against our ever so encouraging and sociopathic guide. Once you take on High Lord Omak, he will tell you to just go home. There aren't any Ragnaroses here. You should be celebrating, and you should definitely not be here. It isn't just Lord Victor who's confused. General Drakisov will heartbreakingly ask us,
Why? Tell me why, please, I like you.
A mistake.
Lord Victor still hasn't quite grasped that he isn't the only one capable of deceiving people, and insists that we are on the wrong side of his mountain. After pushing him even further and killing Ren Blackhand, he pushes all guises of being a sweet, uncorrupted guy out of the window and tells us that we are messing with the wrong dragon. Entering into Blackwing Lair, the fourth wing of the adventure, really gets under his skills, which is all the more reason to do it. First, we defeat Razorgore and scramble all the eggs that he was stockpiling. He gets some sick glee as we are forced to kill Vilastras.
You've killed one of the good guys.
Does this make you sad?
And when we face Cro-Magus, he tells us he is perfect and his greatest achievement, only to turn around and say that he was his weakest minion when we killed the two-headed monster. Lord Victor Nefarius really does not like being made to look a fool. But finally, we get to meet our graceful guide face to face. In the worst secret identity reveal that we've ever seen, he then transforms into his dragon form and tells us,
Behold, the true power of Nefarian! Infinite mana, armored dragon scales.
Ragnaros, seemingly not wanting to stay dead, yelling at us from the Firelands. He offers to help us for the sole purpose of annoying Nefarian, which is fine by us. As we defeat Nefarian, he tells us that he will return. And as we just got aid from a seemingly not quite dead Ragnaros, we more than believe him. At least this time, we won't need his head taping back together. No sooner have we killed Nefarian and then he returns. This time, looking a little bit more moldy.
This time, you won't be so lucky.
Regardless of his new look, Nefarian is confident and cocky as we enter the last wing of the adventure, the hidden laboratory, even thanking us as we kill his Omnitron defense system as we just saved him to repair Bill. He is unimpressed as we kill his chief, and apparently only alchemist Maloriak. And as we kill the last obstacle in our way, the blind dragon Atramedes, he tells us,
You killed a blind dragon. You should be ashamed.
Coming face to face with Nefarian in the next room, it gives us a good idea of why he's so cocky. That reason coming in the new form of a newly resurrected Onyxia.
I will raise destruction upon you from above. Gaze now upon my ultimate creation. Rise, sister. Rise, Onyxia.
As we take on his sister, Nefarian hangs in the air, shoots fireballs at us with immense joy. Killing her will dampen his fun, however, and he will land on the battlefield, telling us,
I have tried to be an accommodating host, but you simply will not die. Time to throw all pretense aside and just kill you.
And then we kill him yet again. Now, would it be fun if that was the end of Nefarian? This time, when he resurrects, he appears straight into our card deck. And hopefully, we can avoid having him die, just to resurrect again.
Warlock, you play with magic beyond your understanding.
Nefarian isn't the type to just stay in the card deck and enjoy a nice game of Hearthstone, however, and later in 2015 he popped his scaly head back up in the showdown at Blackrock Mountain, which is a tavern brawl. Here, Nefarian and Ragnaros, who've both been very efficient in denying death, they're facing down once and for all. Apparently, the arm wrestling that they do in the selection screen, it didn't settle things, and we start the game as either Ragnaros or Nefarian. Playing as Nefarian, we have 30 health and 30 armor, while his hero ability, called Wild Magic, it adds any card from any class to our hands, with that card costing 0 mana. It seems, for the moment at least, the Nefarian is going to accept whichever result he ended up with. And he's been happily sitting in our card decks since 2015. That's where this story ends for now. But who knows who he will have a disagreement with, or he will want to throw fireballs at next. Better get the duct tape ready, just in case. Which brings us to the end of Nefarian's story. It's always great diving into some delicious dragon lore. I should really do the story of Deathwing at some point. But for now, thank you very much for watching, everyone. Subscribe if you like my videos. Leave a like if you enjoyed this one. And until next time, see ya!